Welcome to Amagins Podcast, the podcast that brings you thought-provoking discussions and captivating stories from around the world. I'm your host, Captain P, with my fellow co-hosts, Tina and Joe. On this show, we explore a wide range of topics, from technology and sport to art, culture, and everything in between. Our goal is to inform, entertain, and inspire you, our amazing listeners. So whether you're driving, working out, or just relaxing at home, grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's dive into the captivating world of Amagins Podcast. Always make sure to subscribe and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media. On our Facebook page at Amagins Podcast for the latest updates. Also on our YouTube channel at Amagins Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Amagins. How are you, gentlemen? Good to see you, Tina's Joe. How's everything going?
Everything is good, brother. How are you?
Good, bro. How are you?
Good to hear your voices again. Episode 3, hey? We've made it to another episode 3.
Episode number 3.
Imagine that.
Here we go.
Strong.
Yeah, we're going strong and stronger. Episode 3. We want to welcome our valuable listeners, our amazing listeners. Also a pleasure to welcome all our listeners from around the world, all the way from US, UK, locally here in Australia, some of our listeners in Zimbabwe, some of our listeners in Nigeria. We just want to welcome all our valuable and amazing listeners to another episode of Amagins Podcast. So 3 weeks into it, you know how we roll. We talk about current affairs. We'll pick up a few things which has happened in the world of news, sports, before we go into our main topic. Again, tonight is going to be another amazing discussion with these gentlemen. So let's get into it. Messi, another Messi masterclass on the weekend, eh? If you saw that free kick, it was a damn teach of.
He's on fire, brother. He's on fire. I mean, if you ask me, I think he's sort of regenerating another peak in his life, because everything seems to be happening for him in the States.
So he looks fantastic. He looks comfortable. He's enjoying himself. You know, he doesn't have any pressure. He's just playing. Everything is just so natural to him. The assists, the goals. Man, that free kick was peach of a free kick.
Yeah. ESPN, they're saying that he's making Inter Miami a lethal weapon.
Definitely.
He's definitely. And look, we even came up with that article, which we shared in our group in our pre-production meeting as well, about Apple TV subscriptions. You know,
Wow.
it beaten its subscriber target, months ending the 1st of July. And even the CEO, Tim Cook, he attributed some of that success in an uptick in the interest after Messi signed for Inter Miami, because of the deal Inter Miami has with Apple TV. So again, man, he's benefiting a lot of companies. We see Tim Cook talking about you. Apple.
Definitely.
Come on.
And it's not just Apple. We're talking about Adidas. We're talking about, what's the third company that is also benefiting from him joining or getting into the American market? I mean, the merchandise spiked over 50% of jersey sales, you know. And then I was reading an article that was saying that's the best jersey sales of any player, changing teams across all sports. So he even surpasses people like LeBron, Tom Brady. Yeah. So that's big.
That's big.
That's quite big. Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment, he's quite a media sensation.
Yeah, he is. For the American market, he's a media sensation. When you watch the highlights, you hear the commentators, they are almost out of breath, screaming, Messi! So, no, he's done well. Talking about Messi, let's talk about his former colleague, Neymar. Apparently, Neymar wants to go back to Barcelona. Would you say PSG was a failed project with all their targeting, bringing Neymar? They brought Messi, Mbappe. Mbappe is not happy. So would you say the PSG project has failed for the Qataris?
I personally think it was a failure because they had the best players in the world in that team, like maybe 3 or 4 of the best players in the top 5 in the world at some point, but they failed to turn that into silverware, which I think was the goal. But yeah, for some reason, I think maybe they put too much emphasis on the importance of the players rather than them actually producing result. Because, we hear stories of what Mbappe became there. He chooses who does what in the dressing room and what have you. And that's nonsense. You can't give a player too much reign, regardless of how good they are. You can't give them too much reign. So I think that they fell victim to that. They allowed other players to get bigger than the team.
Yeah, I think most of the players got bigger than the club. And, look at, it's hard for a coach to manage all those egos. You've got Mbappe, you've got Messi, who was previously there at PSG before he went to Inter Miami. You've got Neymar. They're all very, high egos, high self-value. So it's pretty hard to manage for any coach. I think they've gone through Ancelotti, Pochettino, the other one, Gautier, who left. So yeah, it's a hard project. Joe, what are your thoughts?
So is it now definite that he is not going back to Barca?
So it says Neymar asks to leave PSG. So this is from Sky Sports News article. It says Neymar asks to leave PSG. He wants to return to Barcelona. Yeah. So we'll see how we go. It's one of the breaking news in the last 24 hours. Yeah. Neymar wants to go back.
Because there are some smaller, media channels like Barca, the Granes. They were saying that Xavi said, no, he would not accept, Neymar back.
Yeah, Xavi's got a different way of playing. I don't know if Neymar will suit Xavi's style of play with the high pressing, high octane type of football. So we see how we go. It's a developing news story which is happening in the last 24 hours of us. Before us recording this weekly podcast. So we'll watch this space. Maybe we'll have an update for next week. And of course, this week, starting, I believe, Friday night, the Premier League recommences. Man, my weekends are better now. Man, these 3 months was so tough. I had to watch, other sports and, now the Premier League is back. Quick predictions. We'll go around the table. Who are you predicting as the top 4? I know we'll all put our teams in the top 4.
I'll go for Manchester City, bro.
So you're
Manchester Liverpool, but Man City is going to just smoke everyone.
Look, my top 4 is, it's very disappointing me to say this. Man City will win a 4th straight because I think that's the next target. They've won the treble. They want to be the first English team to win 4 in a row. They've got that fire in them. I saw the crazy Arsenal supporters posting because they won the Charity Shield. Imagine they were posting. I woke up and saw all those statuses. Arsenal. Anyway, let's forget about that team. So my prediction is Man City number 1, Man United number 2. I've got Liverpool at number 3. Arsenal, because of the way they crumbled last year, I think they'll be number 4. Unfortunately, Tina's Chelsea is not in the top 4. I don't believe they'll be capable to make the top 4 this year under Pochettino. Maybe we'll give him a year or so. What are your predictions?
Yeah, looking at Chelsea, I think there's still a few things that need to be done. They are showing some elements of spark. A few players here and there showing us what they can do. Gives confidence, but not full confidence. I think you're right. Chelsea is looking at 5-6 spots. Anything better than that is a positive. I think Arsenal has a chance. They've got a few players that they've brought in, and I think if they can manage to do what they did last season.
But they brought in winners. Would you say Declan Rice is a winner at Arsenal?
Not particularly. Not particularly, but what that could do is just the confidence of the players, knowing that we have these guys, these players. They took a few players from City, So I think that's that confidence of the squad coming from last season. It can easily be transferable to the next season. City definitely still is a leading contender, definitely. Man U, yes, is playing good football. So I would argue Man City, Man U, Arsenal, Liverpool hasn't really shown me a spark. I haven't really seen a lot from them. The team is not looking very, very confident.
They've changed the whole midfield basically. So
yeah,
we'll see how we go with that midfield change in Liverpool. But
yeah.
look, it's going to be an interesting season, man. Man City have got a chip on their shoulder. They want to be the first team, as I said. Pep wants to be first coach to win 4 in a row. Alex Ferguson done it a couple of times with Man U. So, now as Man U supporters, we used to brag we're the only English team with the treble. Now we are holding on to we are one of the teams with the 3-peats. If Man City does that, then poof, they're no longer noisy neighbors. They're now the dominant house.
There are a lot of things that Man United was bragging about that's beginning to all crumble.
Yeah.
So
after 10 years of not being there, and it's been 10 years, 2023. So we last won the championship in 2013. 10 years. 10 years. Man, our 10-year-old kiddies, they know a lot of things, man. That's how long we last won the Premier League, man. But it might be our season. It might be our season this year. To all our listeners, Facebook, Twitter, let us know. What's your top 4 predictions? We've all said Man City, even though it was hard for some of us to say that, but we have to be honest. Man City are the leading favorites with the goal machine, Erling Haaland. I saw on Twitter a lot of people happy that he hasn't scored all preseason, but, once the Premier League starts, I think he's that type of player who just flicks a switch and...
Yeah. What other teams do you think could also, just be worth mentioning?
A dark horse, I think, is Aston Villa. Unai Emery is a good coach, and the players they've signed, the players they've got.
Have they signed any good ones recently?
I believe they signed Moussa Diaby from the Bundesliga. He's a good winger. And of course, they've still got the backbone of what they've had last season when they finished in the top 6. Newcastle, of course, they've signed Tonali from AC Milan, and they've got Guimaraes. But I think the issue is their coach, Eddie Howe. I don't think he can manage the pressure of Champions League Wednesday, Premier League on Saturday. It takes a special coach to do that. So I think Newcastle, he might be one of the first coaches to lose his job.
Yeah, I think with the amount of money they're willing to spend, I think they need somebody who knows how to spend money, especially coming from, the quality of the team that was there before. If they want to discover, Champions League football, then they really need to up the game, because obviously with that amount of money that they're bringing or that the owners have, they definitely would want a big return.
All right, crazy prediction. This is a crazy prediction. If Newcastle loses the first 3 games, I'm telling you, the special one, Jose Mourinho, will be back in the Premier League.
You think so?
He will go to Newcastle. Why? It's a project with money.
Uh-huh.
You're already in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Right? And he, based on his history, they will call him a cup specialist.
Yeah.
He will come back for the Newcastle project. If Eddie Howe does not win the first 3 games or Newcastle starts to waver the first 5 games, I'm telling you, he will lose his job. It's not a hot take. It's my prediction.
Yeah.
Mourinho will be back in the Premier League with Newcastle.
Okay. That's bold.
Yeah. I almost wanted to bet you on that.
Let's bet a bottle of single malt whiskey, man. Oh man, that'll be a good whiskey bet, isn't it?
It's quite interesting, though. Do you think Mourinho still has it, considering what he's done for Roma?
Yeah, but you remember that football is all about being box office, and for Newcastle, that'll be box office. And Mourinho's first mentor was Bobby Robson, who used to coach Newcastle. So that'll be the story. I'm bringing back Bobby Robson's passion, Bobby Robson's energy to you. So Eddie Howe, he's under pressure. I'm telling you, Mourinho will be back in the Premier League this season. That's my sneaky feeling. No other team will take Mourinho now. No Man City, Man U, Liverpool, they won't take him because it's highly volatile. Newcastle is a new project. It needs media coverage. It doesn't need it because they're wealthy. The PIF fund, they're the ones backing Newcastle.
But they need the excitement, though.
They need the excitement. They need that storyline, And watch this space. Eddie Howe, as a man, I would never want another man to lose their job or anything. But that's the way of life. It's football. It's a prediction, but Mourinho might be back in the Premier League.
All right. Definitely watch out. Yeah, first 3 matches, guys. That's what he's saying. First 3 matches. The man is under fire.
Maybe Ahmad Gents podcast will be tweeting that, putting pressure on Eddie Howe to bring Mourinho back. You never know, with all our lovely followers who are now following us. Thank you so much for the likes and the follows on Facebook. Episode 2 was a blast. It brought us a lot of traction, and we hope we continue to get more listeners, more followers, more subscribers. Again, on our Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, or Ahmad Gents podcast. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about the president of Burkina Faso, Africa's youngest president. All right, I'll leave that to Joe. I see Joe smiling. He wanted to talk about that topic, eh?
Oh, yeah. That's the Burkina Faso president, Ibrahim Traore.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's quite fascinating for me because I've been a fanatic for his a mentor in terms of he wanting the legacy to continue. You remember that guy Thomas Sankara?
Yep.
Yeah. So Thomas Sankara was one of the presidents for Burkina Faso, like in the 80s. I think it was 83, where he came into power after a coup. So he was a Marxist, sort of, but a Pan-Africanist. And he changed everything and tried to cut the ties with France. So this young president, Ibrahim Traore, he wants to, complete the legacy of Sankara. And we can see that because recently they've already started, severing their ties with France, because they want Africa to be independent of the imperialism and the neocolonialism, which France has had a stronghold on those Western African countries. So Ibrahim Traore, interesting young fella. I see him, if he sticks to his guns, he might bring success to Burkina Faso. What are your thoughts, Tina?
I don't know much about this guy, but I just noted of he seems to be quite a very well-spoken guy. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, what is that statement that he made about slave trade?
When he was doing, you mean the speech that was he aired on RT?
Yeah, I think it was. He said something like, a slave who cannot assume his own revolt does not deserve to be pitied. We do not feel sorry for ourselves. We do not ask anyone to feel sorry for us. And he called on all Africans to take up the fight against imperialism and poverty. So that alone, that stands for a man of that magnitude. It definitely says a lot about what he intends to do. And of course, it won't go unchallenged, definitely.
Yeah, it will be challenged because once Africa becomes, independent and self-sustained, you'll find that those neo-colonialists, they will lose the grip, and the economic benefits that are coming to them will cease. And once that happens, it's an example for other African countries to cut the ties with the Western imperialists, which will be disastrous for for their economic well-being. Because, especially France, if all La Franc-Afrique countries decides to cut the ties, France will be going into an economic meltdown.
Very good. That's quite interesting you mentioned that, because France has actually gone out and said, I saw this online, they've actually gone out and threatened. They said they will fight anyone that opposes the French interests in any country. And to note, France, Niger is the biggest supplier of uranium to France. I think they supply about 15% of uranium to to France, and France having this war of words with Russia and them, they've actually cut most of their energy requests from that side of the world, and they've concentrated more on getting the uranium that they need to fire their energy. Yeah, and also gold. They're also a large exporter of gold to France. So the president actually went out and said, "Listen, guys, we ain't playing with you. If you want to play with us, we'll strap up. We'll strap up."
So,
But I don't know, when it comes to his age at 35, do you guys think he's got the experience and the guts to stand against these Western imperialists?
look, the moment I just want to come back to Sankara and President Ibrahim Traore, the moment you said that they are scholars of Karl Marx, there you've lost me already. How can people look? Yes, I believe in Pan-Africanism, Africa to be self-reliant. But however, the Marxist ideology, I would never agree to it. I would never agree to communism, right?
It's mainly because of the propaganda that has been spread about Marxism. You find that those are just policies that can be developed and they can become hybrid. Like, for example, I'll give you the Sankara example. He was using the Marxist ideologies, but he modified them using the land reform to actually bring self-sustenance to Burkina Faso. You find that what he was doing, it's not like he was fighting capitalism like, the origins of Marxism. He was trying to develop Burkina Faso to become self-sustained. And because of his background in agriculture, he used that for them to grow their own crop, to grow their own cotton, to make their own clothes from the cotton that they grow within Burkina Faso, and to feed their nation using their agricultural expertise, and to remove the dependency from the Western countries. So in saying that, he wanted the employers and the employees, the businessmen and the consumers to be equal, but not to forgo their profits, which is some of what the propaganda is talking about Marxism, to say that it's more of a socialism where, we do away with capitalism. Businesses, they were still profiting during Sankara, but Burkina Faso would come first.
That I agree. That yes, to a certain point, Sankara's businesses were profiting. However, because of the main ideology which he had of Marxism, right?
Yeah.
It put Burkina Faso at that point in time onto a different pathway, which is never fully recovered.
No. Now, that's where the issue was now, because the fact that Marxism is mentioned, the whole brush of Marxism has been painted on Burkina Faso. But during that period, Burkina Faso was flourishing. And once that's when Sankara died, I think it was it in 87?
1987, yeah.
Yeah, in 87. When he died, France was quick to revoke his policies because they were no longer benefiting. And that's why you find that the propaganda, the more you talk about it, you realize that we've been conditioned to hate ourselves, you see, and like the Western way of things. At the end of the day, we look at ourselves as illiterate and not being able to be self-sustaining, to fight each other. But it's not us. It's the propaganda of the imperialism. They have colonized, economically and, socially. You find that socially in the sense that they control all the media, the information and everything, the education. And we tend to hate ourselves because of that. So when the revolutionaries come with the Marxist form of ideas, they are trying to remove that brainwash I'm really passionate. You can tell.
I can tell you.
I loved Sankara, bro.
Yeah, I can tell you. There's a lot of passion there.
The form of Sankara's ideologies, as you alluded, where business employers and employees working together.
Yes.
However, when Marxism has been taken through by other leaders, it has crushed business. And business is the lifeblood, small business of any economy.
Yes, that's true. Even in capitalistic countries, you find that, like, for example, some capitalist countries, the businesses, they become more profiteering and they suppress the rest of the employees, their workers, or whatever. And development that comes back to the public services is insignificant. And you find that there is poverty in those capitalist countries, And it doesn't mean that when we say capitalism is not bad, but people take advantages of the loopholes and the weaknesses that capitalism brings to the society, where people want to profiteer out of, the sweat of others, of which that's business. But at the end of the day, we can make a hybrid system where capitalism and Marxism ideologies, they can live together to bring prosperity within a society.
That one we can accept, as long as we can bring both of them to be a hybrid society. Like some of the societies where we live, where you've got social housing, you've got, Medicare for all, where you can go to the hospital, you don't have to pay cash, you don't have to, if you want to go for private health, where you want more private hospital, then you can get your private health insurance. We all agree to that, right? We're not saying that all of Karl Marx's ideologies were bad, right? However, the way they've been implemented, majority of the cases, right? You may call it propaganda
by people with their interests.
Fantastic. Yeah. But look, as I said, we wish him all the best. President Ibrahim Traore, it's good to have a young man in his 30s as a president. It inspires some of us.
But just quickly before you go, what do you think about, is that him who has this interest with Russia? He signed a contract with, was that him or was it with the Wagner Group from?
No, that's the Niger one, where the Niger president, they want help from the Wagner Group to fight off the ECOWAS.
Now, even Traore, I'm reading here.
So I think, remember,
Traore was suspected of having a connection with the Russian mercenary organization Wagner Group due to having expressed anti-French and pro-Russian views. As Traore entered Ouagadougou, the nation's capital, supporters cheered, waving some Russian flags. So I think definitely his line of thinking is definitely trying to sway the country away from, the French grasp to a more Russian, influence. I think maybe I don't know if they're trying to bring them into a BRICS sort of setup or to be part of BRICS, but definitely Russia seems to have taken a very huge interest in African countries.
Particularly that belt, because if you remember last week when we spoke, we said Mali and Burkina Faso, two presidents, and they are suspended from ECOWAS at the moment to say, don't do anything to this new Niger government through the coup. And again, when we spoke last week, we spoke about the increase of Russia's influence in the Niger region. Yeah, so as I said, it's an interesting topic. Let's continue to watch, President Traore. Again, he was in Russia recently. That's where he made that very impassioned speech, which is trending on social media. So let us know your thoughts about Africa's youngest president. Is it good for Africa? Is it good for the younger generation? Is it inspiring? Let us know. Leave your comments, Facebook. Send us your emails through our message platform on Facebook. Again, I'm a Gents Podcast. All right, gentlemen, are we ready? I can see Tina's angel saying speed up as usual. I know you like, these are the topics you like, isn't it, where we are going to now? All right. So, listener mail, right? Which made us decide to go for this topic. We're trying to go in a different direction for episode 3, but we got a listener mail and they asked us, would love for you to have a discussion about open marriages and open relationships. This was a follow-up to what they heard about, falling in love with a sex worker. And they said they loved the episode. And they said they want to talk about open relationships. So I don't know if this listener of ours is in an open relationship because they're in love with a sex worker. We don't know that. We don't judge. But we appreciate the listener mail and we appreciate the topic. So the gentlemen, the boys here, they've taken a bit of time to research open relationship, right? So according to intimacydoc.com, this is a psychologist. This is a psychologist. I will get the psychologist's name. It's Dr. Michelle, Dr. Catalina Lawson, who is a clinical psychologist, explains what open relationships are. Then I'll open the floor to the gentlemen to give their feedback, to give their opinion. Today, it's a very opinionated discussion. So much passion when we're in the pre-recording meeting. So an open relationship is a type of consensual, non-monogamous relationship where both partners agree to have romantic or sexual connection with other people outside of their primary relationship. The key element is open communication and mutual consent among all parties. Each open relationship can have its own rules and boundaries which are defined and agreed upon by individuals involved. It requires honesty, trust, and open communication to maintain the relationship successfully. I can see you gentlemen shaking your heads saying, what is this? We don't understand what you're going on about here. Tinas, what are your thoughts? Open relationships. Would you approve? Yes or no?
Well, let's start with perhaps maybe breaking down what sort of open relationships are there. As I was going through my research, my little bit of research, I realized there's polygyny, with which one man has many wives. I think we're all versed with this one. Our grandfathers and great-grandfathers used to have many women. They were in a polygamous relationships. And then there's what they call polyandry. This is what they call a woman who is married or has a lot of men as hers. Not a lot of cultures have this one, but I know there are people in, I think it's Nepal, that this is quite popular, customary. And then there's what we call polyamory, where it's non-monogamous. You can have many partners. So you could do your own thing. I could do my own thing. As long as you agree. We have reached a sort of consensus that perhaps maybe if you're the husband, you decide who actually would be the best partner for your wife to be with, depending obviously on the size of the goods, because obviously you don't want a situation where you end up being the one who's competing.
Yeah, but you remember in the article I was referencing, and as well in Women's Health, some couples may choose to give each other the option to veto certain partners or relationships if it makes one of them uncomfortable. So what you're saying is that man can decide, with an agreement, or a partner can decide, to cancel that other relationship or make them stop because they're not comfortable.
But how would they know the other partner is
sexual relationship
well endowed?
Yeah, because that's the honesty. So in an open relationship, there's that honesty. You have to explain that, I met this ex guy or ex, lady, and, they've got the perfect body, they've got this, they've got that, and then if you're not comfortable with that, you can veto it.
So once that happens now, there is risk of the other partner to go behind the back.
Yeah. So that's the risk.
Because they would want to experience that, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, coming back to me personally.
Yep.
I wouldn't approve that. because there is a lot of crazy logistics that comes with that. Like, for example, how would you prioritize who gets the feed first?
Yeah, or who does it first, or
Yes.
Both of you have to do it at the same time. So I think one of the things which talks about the open relationship is that you can set agreements that, if someone goes away for a business trip, they're allowed to sleep with someone else. This is in the research, again, which we've done based on the 6 rules for doing the whole open relationship thing perfectly. This is the article by Women's Health from 2018. So again, you've got those rules and boundaries to say on your work trips, Joe, you're allowed on your work trips, you can blow off some steam, find a nice.
But let's be frank. Is it practical? Does it really work?
To some, it's working. It's a very successful mode because it keeps things fresh and interesting for their relationship.
There's a gentleman, guys. There's a gentleman called Neil Wilkie. That's Wilkie. He was addressing the question, what percentage of marriage couples are in open relationships? Coming to what you're saying, Joe. So it is said that 1% of couples in open marriages, 20% of those couples have experimented with consensual non-monogamy. Open marriages have a 92% failure rate.
Yes.
80% of people in open marriages experience jealousy. I think jealousy is always going to be the biggest threat, if I may, to that sort of arrangement, because the moment you say open, it means your wife can actually quest your friend and say, I want to sleep with this one.
I think that's where Captain P was talking about having rules and parameters.
But it's no longer open then.
No, it is open because you've set boundaries to say this is how far we go in our open relationship. We are allowed to, as I'm alluding with that example of a business trip or a work trip, it's out of state. Maybe you've gone interstate. You're allowed to do that. And you just verify the information to say, yep, I've got my hookup now.
So when it comes to STIs and what then becomes, are you guys going to consistently start testing each other? Because obviously with marriage, there's always that freedom or that comfort of knowing that, or at least thinking that my partner is not doing anything, so I'm okay. So what then happens with that sort of situation? You always have to have tests then.
Yeah, so that's where they say that it requires high level of communication and transparency, where you find that you have to be communicating to say, let's use protection at all times if we are...
Gentlemen. Let's be real gentlemen. I think we all know what can happen, what can transpire.
Brings to the point where I say it's not practical. Want to, the statistics that you were talking to. There is another, a family law group. It's called Schoenberg. They did some surveys, and the statistics comes to almost the same as you were talking about. There's 1.9 to 9% of total marriages are open marriages, right? While some studies show that 92%, which is exactly similar to what you just said, open marriages end in divorce.
Exactly.
And also 70% of the open marriages, some they report to have better than average relationship, but they still end in divorce. Right? And in another survey, they said 67% of female participants said they would leave a spouse who requested an open relationship. However, on flip side, 46% of men said they would still, agree to the arrangement.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So you find that most of the people who are actually requesting open marriages, that are actually happening are women. And mostly when men request that, it doesn't happen. The woman leaves.
I think traditionally women have always felt that they've always had the rough side of the equation always, because men could do as much as they could, especially coming from a traditional culture where women were supposed to be humble, stay-at-home moms and things like this. So I think now that they're beginning to explore more the new world where they're allowed to do a lot more things, they see the need to want to, experiment more. But obviously with experimenting more comes the responsibilities of actually, having that same thing happen to you. And a lot of them will not agree.
Yeah. So now you find that there is a difference between men and women when it comes to that. Because as a woman, if you go into having multiple partners, there is risk now of paternity issues.
Exactly.
But for a man, the risk is less because you don't carry any pregnancy.
Yes.
Because if you have pregnancy with an outside partner in an open marriage, who is going to look after that kid? Who's going to take the responsibility of giving that kid a son?
Yeah.
Is it me or the outside partner? That's where the dilemma comes in. Because we said using protection is a fallacy.
Yeah, but when you look at it, man, if you go out, we could agree that you can go out and do whatever you do. But then if you come back with a child, I'm not going to stay.
Yeah. But now, are they ready for that responsibility now?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why we see in the world, we now have a lot more single moms. We have a lot more,
So I've got two articles to support what Joe was saying. In terms that there's an article in the Atlantic in 2019, which says women more than men tend to feel stifled by long-term exclusivity, despite having been taught that they were designed for it, right? A psychiatrist, Andrew Gotsis, hope I pronounce correctly, with extensive psychotherapy practice, have been treating couples for several years that they have, the sexual relations about 3 times a week. And in his study, it's shown that women who've been in an exclusive relationship for the long term get bored easily. And that's why hence they request open relationships more than men. Another article, this is from 2023. This is from yourtango.com. 6 relationship experts reveal the harsh reasons women get bored with their husbands. And point number 3, they says the marriage lacks variety and new experiences, right? And that word new experiences takes us to the article which I shared in our group in the Daily Mail about the famous YouTuber, Adam22.
That guy
who rewarded his partner for getting nutted in by another man. Imagine, bought a Lamborghini.
Me, I think it's insanity.
But that's a form of openness, open relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, like I told you.
Which is benefiting. She got a $400,000 Lamborghini. This is according to the Daily Mail, again in July 2023.
Look, I think some of it is just insanity, like Joe is saying. It's just crazy. It's absurdity at its highest. Okay, after having done that, okay, let's say you're okay with her having done that, but what's up with the Lambo?
Because she enjoyed her new experience. It's the same.
It's a way of signaling to the world that he's fine with that.
But he has nothing to prove to us, though. He's nothing to prove to us. Oh my goodness me!
In the research, because when I was sent this article, I wanted to research it a bit further.
Wow.
And this lady, Lena the Plug, that's her name. If you find her on social media, Lena the Plug, based on the snippets and the highlights of the detailed research we conducted, she clearly enjoyed this new experience. And of course, the man in the scene, of course, he's well known in that other world. Jason Love, That's his name of the person who she hooked up with. And yeah, we'll pin the article on our Facebook page for people to have a read. But again, famous people, famous YouTuber, what a popular podcasting, good on him. Over 4 million subscribers. He let his wife go in an open relationship like that.
If I was Adam 22, I would be admitted in a psych unit. After that, no, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
What I don't understand is why would he clearly has money. He can clearly go for any woman that he wants. Why would you put yourself through that and then go ahead and purchase a $400,000 car for a woman? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Perhaps it makes sense in the Western world, but from where we come from, it definitely does not make sense.
Yeah, look. So these are the forms of an open relationship. They've got that trust. They've got that openness about it, and they felt happy about it. This is an example. This is a live example of a clear, open relationship. We know on their podcast, they invite other female porn stars. And after that podcast, they have intimate relationships with them. So it's part of their marriage. It's an open marriage. This is only the first time where she's going to do it as a solo with someone else.
Oh, okay. So this is something that's been happening.
Yeah. So they usually have female
They
porn
even
stars.
invited that guy, what's his name? Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
What did he say?
Andrew Tate was invited. Top G, he was invited by Adam 22 to come and sleep with the partner. So it's something which is in their marriage. They seem happy about it, but I think
look. Can we say this is a business relationship? Like that is just garnering for views and likes. Are they like? You think it's a proper marriage that they actually intend on, having a family, living a normal life in quotes?
So you're saying Adam 22 is a pimp?
In a sense, mate.
His wife, yeah?
In a sense, I'd want to think so, because there's no reason why he would buy a $400,000 car after she's just been manhandled by some dude.
She was clearly manhandled, bro. She was from the in the research we conduct for this, because I was intrigued to say, why is this thing trending on social media?
Yeah. Manhandled is saying it very politely. My word. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I love these episodes. We thank this listener for setting this marriage open relationships. So look, in your marriages, would you agree to an open relationship? Would you agree?
Nah, I'm walking, bro. I'm sorry. I'm walking.
But what if you really love your wife and they say this will bring a spark in our marriage? Would you welcome?
No. That's the one time that I'll tell you love is a 4-letter word, brother. I am not sticking around for that kind of nonsense.
I think Tina's is right, because you can actually step away even if you love someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you love them, but for your own mental health, well-being, if it doesn't go down well with you, I think it would be best to just move on.
It's okay to love them from afar.
Yes. From arm's length.
Yeah. So as I said, look, we've seen the stats there. Both, genders are equal to that. Men want the open relationship because it's fetishes, it's fantasies, through watching, pornography, through having ideas which they have in their head. Women maybe an issue that they want just that refresh, that new experience. As we said, even herself, this lady Lena, the plug, says after 7 years of a relationship, sleeping with the same person, this was just a revitalizing experience. It just refreshed me. That's what she was saying. Looking at your faces, I think we need to share this video clip out. The way you guys are just shaking your head. I haven't seen.
It's crazy, brother. It's crazy.
To all our valuable listeners, would you agree? Your partner walks to you one day, love, I love you so much. I want to have an open relationship. Would you walk away? Would that seal the end of your marriage? Would that seal the end of your relationship? Or it's something which you'd want to experiment? Let us know on our Facebook. send us a message, send us an email, contact us on Twitter. On our Twitter platform, you can send us a direct message on Twitter about this topic. It's a follow-up from last week. It was a listener who sent us this question and said, look, guys, we want you next week to talk about an open relationship. It's something which they may be facing in their own home. It's maybe something you're facing in your own home. Let us know. How would you handle that? How will you handle that in your relationship? Tina's, Joe, closing statements before we wrap up.
Gents, no open relationships. Run away. Run away.
For me, if you've got the guts and very strong, emotional intelligence, stay away, because that thing will kill you. Psychologically, you'll be destroyed just with the jealousy on its own.
It doesn't benefit the man at all, because, look, man, the reason why we look for a woman is because we want someone to settle with. So the moment you start having someone you want to settle with, going outside to have affairs with other people, have whatever relations with other people, then the problem now is you are the one who's going to face being responsible for her needs, her uplifting and all things. But then she's going out to have the most valuable thing about her. She's giving it away to somebody else. So I think.
But it's the same with you, because once you're in that agreement, I know it was a closing statement, but we had to fight. I'm just countering it from a standpoint where people have agreed to it. Both of you have agreed. You are doing it on your end. She's doing it on your end.
So what's the point of being married then?
No, I haven't agreed.
I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. But what's the point of being in a marriage?
She's saying that she feels revitalized.
Okay, here's the thing though, Captain. She's got an anchor, and her anchor is the marriage. She knows she can do whatever she wants with anybody else, but she's gonna come back to that guy she can sleep.
Same as you. You can go out and do whatever you want, and you can come back.
Well, I'm speaking from my point of view right now, and why I would not want it. You see? Because, brother, there's a man out there, brother.
Yeah, there's a man, man.
They will play with her, brother.
Mm-hmm.
They will play with her. They will ways that you cannot play with her. My man, when she comes back home, she's a new girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's a new girl.
To the surface.
My man.
For many years, you were just touching the surface of the equator.
And rightfully, and rightfully, like you're saying, there's also some women out there, rightfully, there are also some women out there who can, really play with the tool. And brother, it's like they have the manual.
So that's what I'm saying. But you see, it comes back to those stats, two different.
Exactly.
You brought your evidence that they all end in divorce.
Exactly.
You brought that. So look, as I said, each to their own. We are a very agnostic podcast. We never tell you what to do. We always ask the question, would you do that? Would you agree? Would you disagree? Let us know on our Facebook page, Twitter, Gents Podcast, on YouTube. Leave your comments on YouTube. We want to hear your questions. Let us know. Joe, Tina's always a pleasure hanging with you.
It's been great, guys.
Our time is up for this week. But look, as we enter into next week, it's close to the Zim elections. We'll touch on that next week on our next episode about the Zim elections as we enter the last few weeks there. But again, thank you for an awesome Gents Podcast. Again, to all our lovely listeners from around the world, continue to send your messages. Like, subscribe to all our social media platforms, and have an awesome week. Thank you. Enjoy Gents Podcast.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.